Okay, I have somehow managed to prop my phone up on this trunk of a tree, and I'm sitting on another tree, and we're doing this video because I get so much inspiration when I'm out in nature, like going for a walk or going for a hike. Um, and I have some things to share, some lessons that I'm learning while I'm on my hike. And I was just thinking about all of the lessons that people in my life have taught me. Okay. Namely men. There's been a lot of men in my life who have taught me a lot of lessons, just like random people that I would be talking to or dating or actual relationships over my life, right? And I was just reflecting on these lessons, and one was a friend who taught me how to walk slower in nature. And I was just like going for a hike or a walk, and I was walking so fast, and I just remembered what he said, and it was like, slow down. Like, why are you walking so fast? You're in nature. So every time I'm in nature ever since then, I remember his words, and I'm like, that's so nice. Like, he taught me that, you know. And then I was reflecting on all these other people and what they have taught me. Like, I'm surely, you know, they've taught me something. And then it brought me to my ex, who I was like, oh, my ex, like the one that I was like in an unhealthy relationship with that like hurt me a lot. And I was like, well, what did he teach me? And I'm like, oh, he taught me self-worth. And then I was like, wait, I can't give him that kind of credit. Like, he didn't actually teach me self-worth. He taught me self-worth through making me feel unworthy. And then I was having this thought of like, wow, that is crazy. That is literally the experience of life. And this is literally how the universe experiences itself, by knowing what it is not, right? So it's like it had to incarnate into these bodies or whatever, like divide itself into, you know, all of these separate forms in the three-dimensional reality where you can have darkness and light, where you can have duality and opposites, not just light, because I like in the soul world, in the universe, you know, it's just one. It just is itself. And so it had to kind of divide itself and experience the opposite of itself to know itself, right? And so it has to experience darkness so that it can know that it's light. It has to experience hatred so that it can know that it's love. It has to experience unhappiness to know that it's happiness. So that's literally like what I was feeling when I was thinking about what I learned from my ex. And it was like, I had to experience unworthiness to know my worth. And then that thought took me even further, which was that he signed up for this and I signed up for this. And then it brought me to the book by Neil Donald Walsh, the parable, actually, the children's book called The Little Soul and the Sun, which is such a cute, deep read, by the way. And in that story, it's basically the little soul and the sun who are talking, and it's explaining that in the soul world, before we incarnate, we make contracts with people based on the things that we want to learn on earth. Okay, so based on the lessons that we want to learn. So the little soul is like, well, I want to learn forgiveness. And then the sun's like, okay, I'll teach you forgiveness. But you know that in order for me to teach you forgiveness, I'm going to have to hurt you and do something bad so that you can forgive me. And that's the contract. But remember, you're going to forget this when you incarnate. You're going to forget this when you're a human. And you're going to be hurt by me. And I'm going to have to lower my vibration to hurt you so that you can learn this lesson. But this is our contract, right? We're soulmates. And that is what I was thinking of, you know, with these people in our lives who hurt us. And this is a very spiritual perspective. And of course, like, this doesn't excuse any human behaviors, you know, of people hurting us. And that's not what I'm doing here. But I am seeing it from a higher perspective that me and my ex signed up for that experience that we had. I'm sure I taught him a lot of things as well, but he definitely taught me a lot. I know that, you know, and I'm actually taking the lessons. It's our choice, it's our free will to learn those lessons or not, but I'm actually choosing to learn those lessons. And one of his biggest things to teach me was my own self-worth, to not abandon myself ever again. And he had to do that through essentially abandoning me, neglecting me, dismissing me, gaslighting me, manipulating me, cheating on me, like all of the things, you know. I'm not saying that he was aware of this as a human, but on a soul level, that was his purpose in my life. And when I see it from that perspective, I'm able to, I think, accept it a lot better and forgive, you know. And this isn't the first time that I've thought of this, of course, but I don't think that I was ever really ready to see it from this perspective because I was still so hurt. But I have forgiven him maybe I'll share a video on that of like how I did that, but this would be one of the ways. You know, when you come to that point of like you've healed enough and you have reconnected back with yourself and you've remembered your self-worth, then you're no longer in that wounded energy. And when you're no longer in that wounded energy because you have your power back, you're not that angry at the person that hurt you anymore, because like you're good now, you know? So now we can open up the doorway to forgiveness, to seeing this from a higher perspective, and making peace with the whole situation. And that's kind of just like where I'm at on my journey. And that's what I learned on my hike, is that literally the universe is experiencing itself through me in this human body right now. And it is learning what it feels to have self-worth. And it needed to experience this bad relationship to know that it, like, to feel unworthy essentially, and to feel not enough, and to feel not chosen, and to feel neglected, so that it can get to this point of like worthiness. Like I would never know, and I am the universe. The universe is me, right? It's the universe is you. It is inside of all of us. It is, we are all one. We're just separate little individuations of the one, experiencing life in our own way, in our own form, which actually helps the universe to understand itself and to remember it, well, to experience itself. And I would never know my own self-worth if I didn't experience the opposite of that. And therefore the universe wouldn't know what that feels like, because the universe is experiencing itself through me, through all of us. So that was like a really enlightening perspective to have. And if you have someone in your life that you need to forgive, that's something that you can play around with. Okay, you can, if you're ready to go there, you can definitely see from the perspective that you guys are soul family in some way, shape, or form, whether it's karmic, soulmate, twin flame, like whatever. You're in the same little tribe and family, and these people on a soul level, you know, came into your life to teach you these lessons by teaching you the opposite, okay, or pointing out the opposite so that you can learn what you're supposed to learn about yourself, and that you also signed up for this, okay? Like you signed up for all of the experiences that you are going through, that you went through. And I know that's also really hard to accept, because it's like, well, why would I sign up for, like, let's say you went through like the worst things on earth, right? Why would I sign up for that? And it's like, maybe your soul needed to learn a lot of things from that experience. And to the soul, there is no good and bad. Everything just is, you know, it's just to our human mind that we, you know, label things good and bad. So I think it's important to remember that, because we get so lost in this 3D reality and we forget who we truly are. And I think coming back to this truth is always going to be empowering. I also recommend that you read the book, The Little Soul in the Sun. I actually think that I'm going to read the book as like a little story time thing and put it on my channel, just for anyone who like wants to read it and you don't own the book, because it is such a cute little story and it is so like profound. But anyway, I'm sending you lots of healing energy from nature, lots of love. I hope you have a nice day. Bye.